We have a guest in the studio, Garrison Township MP. Before we welcome and introduce him to the show, the day's proverb, City.
From Angola, chance all, see what destiny yields.
Chance all,
Yes.
see what destiny yields.
Yes.
Just go all out.
Yes.
Try. Do it.
Yes. You may think you know the outcomes, but until you actually go out and do it, you will really not fully appreciate the possibilities that actually exist. Yes.
This is for those people who have self-doubt.
These are for people who are doubtful about starting anything, because whenever you look at anyone who has achieved anything, you ask them their story, you'll be amazed at what they started off as before they got to where they are. And the reason why they got to where they are was they didn't pontificate. They took a step and then took another step
Think, do.
and continued
Think,
taking
do.
steps. Yes.
And don't be discouraged when others tell you, aye, yo, aye.
Well, and many of them, even failing, didn't stop them. They failed, took stock, moved on.
Got up, moved on.
Yes.
Ednah Duale.
That's a hustler story.
Eh?
That is a hustler story.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You had to plug that in, didn't you?
Of course.
Yeah, that's how hustlers reach up to the top.
They try, they think, they try, they do.
Yeah,
Don't stop yourself. Don't
Yeah,
limit
yeah.
yourself.
yeah. Don't give up.
No human is limited.
Absolutely.
It's a good thing. Moshimo, good morning.
Morning and good to see you back, you guys.
Welcome
good to be here, back.
welcome back to the Situation Room and the hot seat. Now that you are, what is that term for Parliament? It is Sinadie.
Senadie.
Now that you are Sinadie, what are you doing with yourself? Campaigning?
Oh yeah. You know, Senadie, the new constitution provided that for the first time that you be a member of parliament until the next member is sworn in. So you enjoy the privilege and everything. And even if we went on Senadie, Parliament can be recalled anytime for a special sitting. It's in a very, very special way. So I'm busy campaigning for my constituency and campaigning in the region and campaigning across the country. So I'm busy.
Does representation still continue, even though legislation, and oversight
No,
is
no,
not
no.
happening? Does representation still continue in any way, shape, or form?
I think representation still continues because it's now when you tell the people your scorecard. You guys, I did this, I did this in parliament, I did oversight. The only two elements now you can't do is legislation and oversight. Yeah.
You are in UDA, you are also in Kenya Kwanza. How many parties from Northeastern are in Kenya Kwanza?
How many parties?
Yes.
ANC has candidates, Ford Kenya has candidates, but UDA is a predominant candidate, has the highest number of candidates.
In the North?
So in the North, those are the three main parties that have candidates, with
Kano?
UDA having
the majority.
the majority candidates.
The question that I think Eric is trying to ask, are there certain parties that are specific and peculiar to the northern part of the country?
No. The people in the North don't vote according to party lines. Me sitting here, been elected 3 times in 3 different parties. I'm going to the 4th party. I started with the
All
ODM.
national parties.
All national parties. I went to ODM, to URP, to Jubilee, and now heading to UDA. And I think it's a classical example of political nomadism, if you may call it. So they are not dominant. The big parties are always dominant. So I think ODM, apart from UDA, our opponents are in either Jubilee or in ODM, apart from Mandera, where there is some semblance of a robust party of UDM.
That is so what is that party?
That party is just like many of the small parties that were formed to be part of the Azimio by President Uhuru Kenyatta in trying to fix his succession politics. He formed many parties. Some he dropped them.
Uhuru formed parties?
Oh, yeah. Those are state parties. To form a political party in Kenya from the Political Parties Act, it's not a walk in the park. You have to collect 24,000 signatures in 24 counties. We did this when we were forming URP. It took us 1.5 years. But these days you see parties being formed in interim certificate being given in 1 week. So there were many parties. All those parties, and I'm sure the registrar must be listening to me. All those parties did not comply with the proper vigorous registration of parties. So there were many parties which were formed, whether they are DPK, whether they are Bantu of Lee Kinyanjui, Pa, and all these, to segment the country. It was the opposite of what we did in 2015. When we formed Jubilee, we collapsed 14 parties. So we have 2 or 3 serious major political parties. But I think in the wisdom of President Uhuru Kenyatta and his handshake brother, they felt that they must form tribal regional parties so that they can diminish the influence of the deputy president. But you realize that, again, the president renegated on that and started reviving Jubilee. Right now, as we speak, UDM of Roba is facing serious issues with Azimio because there's candidates in Siaya. A very serious candidate is the gubernatorial aspirant Gumbo is in UDM. And that's why you see John Bandi says no. Luo Nyanza is an ODM party. And you saw the clash in the north. I mean, in Marsabit. It's because of the formation of the many parties, competing interests.
Really?
Yes.
The conflict we saw in Marsabit was because of the many parties. There was conflict in Marsabit even before Raila went there.
No.
There's always been conflict there.
No, I'm not talking about the security conflict. I'm talking about the
rally itself.
The rally itself. The clash in the rally. You saw even in Mandera, because when you have 5 candidates in 5 different political parties, to manage that rally is difficult.
So how are you doing it yourself when you're campaigning for Garissa Township and some of your colleagues in Kenya Kwanza have candidates there as well?
At least in Garissa Township, I'm the only candidate for Kenya Kwanza. But in the other constituencies, maybe we have 2 or 3, and we give them equal chance, equal resources. And in most of our rallies, what we do is that the leader of the party starts the meeting. The first person to pick the mic is the leader. Then all of us, the top leadership, will speak. Then the last people to speak is the candidate. That's how we manage. If you start with the candidate, then there is that shouting match. But if a neutral person stands up, the crowd will listen.
I mean, it seems difficult to have this conversation without going back to a fundamental question, Mheshimiwa, and that is looking at parties and the reasons as to why they were formed in the first place. And with what did you call it? Political nomadism, right? Moving from one party to another. It then looks as though parties are being used purely for the aim of making sure that it delivers what an individual wants politically, as opposed to delivering an ideology. Is that not where we are right now?
Yes, I think for many years, since the advent of multi-party politics in Kenya, parties were formed and are still being formed just for the sole purpose to capture power. I mean, that is basically what is there. But I think some of us in 2015, we wanted to change that narrative. And with the President Kenyatta, we formed Jubilee, collapsed 14 parties. But midway, we realized that President Kenyatta and his cabal renegated on it. And it took us back to where we were coming from, tribal, ethnic, political parties. So I totally agree with you. In our country, unless we change the political landscape, parties are formed with ideology, parties are formed with structured manifestos. But for now, I think parties are still...
special purpose vehicles.
Yes, like you see, even the Kenya Kwanza, I mean, Musalia Mudavadi comes with his party, which is mainly based in Western. Masu Watangula is in Western. if you see Kabogo Tujibebe is from Kiambu. I mean,
Kingi from Kilifi.
In fact, it's Kilifi. So I agree with you. It's about power and power sharing.
Right. So what happened in 2015 when you say like, okay, so it was realized that, look, we can do a lot more with parties, or we should do what parties initially were envisioned to do. And then you say that, okay, so there was an idea in 2015 with Jubilee. What are some of the things that were happening for us to then know, all right, parties then were falling along ideological lines as opposed to special purpose vehicles? What are some of the things that we can point back to today and say, this happened because of that?
You know, in 2015, we realized that the main cause of tribal politics in the Republic of Kenya was because of the parties themselves. The parties were, quote unquote, were more of tribal, ethnic, regional inclination. So we agreed with the President Kenyatta, our party leader, that I think the starting point was to fix the political architecture of our country. How do we do? Let's call out 14 parties from one Jubilee. We were very successful. And in 2017, we got the highest number of members of parliament, senators, and governors. And in fact, we kept on urging even our colleagues, the NASA, that going forward, let's also have NASA collapse all those three parties and have one major party. And I'm sure NASA or other groups could have followed that suit in the subsequent election, which is now. But what happened?
You broke up Jubilee.
Jubilee collapsed.
You went to UDA.
Jubilee collapsed. We became
Jubilee. Uhuru is still with Jubilee, the one that you formed in
but
2015.
Uhuru.
You and Ruto went to UDA.
No, but we were stakeholders. I mean, we were partners and we were shareholders of Jubilee. And all of a sudden, Uhuru, through his friends, decided that they will not call what you call the shareholders annual general meeting to discuss how our company is doing. They never did it. It reached a stage where they said you are not allowed to visit even the headquarters of our company. So we had no option. I mean, we had to go to elections, and going to elections, you need a vehicle. That's why we had to find UDA. But if you look at it, then but on the flip side, what did he do? After even they looked out of Jubilee and we formed UDA, the president did not even invested in Jubilee. He started forming other small regional parties for members within Jubilee. Lee Kinyanjui was a member of Jubilee. Ali Roba was a member of Jubilee, and many, many others. And Moses Kuria was a member of Jubilee. Kabogo was a member of Jubilee. So there was a formation of parties for our colleagues who are within Jubilee. So the Jubilee that even we left for President Uhuru Kenyatta, our party leader, disintegrated further into small regional county parties. Unfortunately, some of them thought they can negotiate now with the UDA or ODM through those small parties. And I think we didn't agree to that. We said let's form a coalition. Then look at even there was ODM, because I found a member of ODM, then it became CORD, then it became NASA, and now it's Blue, it's called Azimio. So I think, and unless we fix, what some of people like me believe, unless we fix the ethnic orientation of our political parties, then Kenya will still be very tribal, and our politics will be very tribal. And people will vote along tribal lines.
Can we argue that it is still a tool of politicians to use these tribal lines? Because once you look at Kenyans and the way in which they operate one to another on a daily basis, Kenyans are not split by ethnicity. Kenyans are not split by tribal lines. Kenyans then become split by tribal lines when you enter in the politician factor.
Actually, the election factor.
So if they can live in unity and harmony with themselves, trade amongst themselves, intermarry, and then one day when there's an election or the run-up to the election, suddenly Kenyans are split. I fail to understand why then it continues to be characterized as a nation that is ethnically divided. Why?
No, I think Kenyans are ethnically divided when it comes to politics,
Absolutely.
when it comes to elections. Outside that, Kenyans are very resilient, hardworking, united. They intermarry their neighbors. They stay together at the workplace. Even Kenyans have gone outside the barrier of religion. I mean, Christians and Muslims live together. So it's the politicians who use the tribal card to perpetuate their existence and their route to power. And that is why even with the political parties fund, parties die after elections. Parties should not die after elections. Parties only again service just 1 year, 2 years to the election. So I think, let me be very honest as a politician, that we need to fix the political. And that is why you see this election, to a certain degree, from where I sit as a UDA member or Kenya Kwanza member, we want to sell the narrative that it's not your tribe that will bring food to their table. It's not your tribe. So you must vote for a government that will give you proper health care, that will create jobs for you. And that is why for the first time, we are signing 47 economic charters. We have signed a charter with the education stakeholders. Today we are signing with the health workers, the health sector workers, and in the evening we'll sign with the youth of this country, who are about 8 million voters, so that, going to election to vote is not a ritual exercise. It's about interest. What do the youth, the women, and the business community and various regions have in that government? And it must be documented. And that's why we are different from the other, our competitors. As much as we go to rallies and address huge crowds, we have economic forums where we listen to, because the people of Garissa have a different need and concerns from the people of Kisumu or Kiambu. So I think the media, can also help us. That
How binding are these charters, though? I mean, if you just look at, it's the same politicians who are going around the country, and then you come out of the charter meetings, you address public rallies, and you talk about the same things. Oh, mnaona bei ya chakula imepanda, bei ya unga imepanda sana, tutafix.
No, the charters are signed. And let me give you an example. In the north, I mean, I will be the first person to call out William Ruto when he becomes the president, that he signed with the 3 counties of Garissa, Wajir, and Mandera on the access to citizenry documents, ID cards and passports, that he said is going to end to that. There are no 2 sets of citizens. I mean, there's only 1 citizen, and they must be subjected to the same process. That he must end extrajudicial killing, which has historically lived with the people of the north and part of coast. That he must improve on livestock sector. And we must see the abattoirs working. So he will sign that, and we will make sure even on 30th when we are launching our manifesto, that must be documented. So we have a list for the first time. Not that you go to Garissa primary ground for a rally, tell the people I'm going to do this and this and this. We have no document, but we have a document that you, even the media, 1 year down the line after he ascends to power, and all of us can challenge him even in parliament.
How legally binding is the charter?
It's legally binding because it's drafted by legal experts.
No, that doesn't make it legally
binding. No. I mean, a legal document signed, witnessed by lawyers is a legal document.
Binding.
In terms of
So what is it? It's a contract?
It's just like the coalition contract.
Yeah, but the coalition contract is recognized in law.
But when you have a legal document, legal documents is enforced by the courts of law. Am I right?
Look.
No, am I right?
If I call
a petitioner today, let me ask you, a petitioner today, if he has that document.
What governs this? Is it the law of contracts? Is it a company's law? What governs this document that you're signing? If I sign a contract with a landlord today, there's a law that governs that
It's
contract.
the law of contract.
Okay. So
The law
is
of-
this one a contract or is it a document that has
It
been
is
signed by people?
It is a law. It's part of the law of contract where the people of that county are signing with Kenya Kwanza. And let me even now go further. Such documents can be part of a petition to Parliament. Such documents can even be used by Honorable Ednah Duale as a member for Garissa Township to use it when the budget making process is going on in the House. Such documents, the president will not live in isolation. He will go to the north, he'll go to the Lake region, he'll go to the Rift Valley. And the people will ask him, this is a document you have signed. The civil society organization will hold him to account.
This is what you promised.
This is something bigger than and more concrete than an MOU.
I think I wasn't clear, so let me rephrase what I meant. Yeah? When we talk about the constitutional capacity to recall a political leader, you are told this is what you need to do. This is how you go about it. We've seen it being practiced with governors. And we've actually seen governors being impeached because a process exists. Now, so when I say legally binding, it is clear. If the arrangement we had with you isn't working, this is how we get rid of you. What in effect I was asking was, how do we enforce it? Now you say you can take it to Parliament. Okay, when it gets to Parliament, what does Parliament do?
No. Let me tell you. Yeah. Parliament petitions. Let me ask you, what does Parliament do? A resolution of the House.
Yes.
A resolution of the House is binding even on the president.
Yes, it is. But
Yes.
how does it enforce? What I'm going by,
A resolution of the House itself is an enforcement instrument. I have been the leader of majority and I'm a ranking member. When the House resolves is different with when the House considers.
okay.
The House can consider a petition or a motion. But the moment the House resolves that the following must be done, that agency, that state department must comply with it. But let me tell you why we are doing this. We had a lot of political deceit and people not honoring what they tell the people of Kenya.
They do it all the time.
They come and they say, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. Nothing happens. And we want to end that culture of impunity, of deceit.
Let's come back.
That
after the
today,
break.
I'll give you an example.
I want to take
We
a
have
break.
promised the people of Kenya many things, including the laptop.
Maybe,
Okay, for example.
I want to take a break.
No, we did many.
It's okay. I want to take a break because I know City is gearing up to ask the question on the actual detail of how then you enforce these particular agreements, or even the manifestos, or any of these other documents that we are seeing, political documents being signed left, right, and center. We'd like to know, what power do we have to see this being actualized this time?
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Ednah Duale, the MP for Garissa Township, is here with us in the studio. We're talking about the Kenya Kwanza campaign. Very many promises being made on the campaign trail. 47 charters have been signed with the 47 counties. You are talking about meeting with teachers, representatives, and having an education conversation. Meeting with persons with disabilities, having conversation on promises. Meeting with women groups and having conversations and promises. All these promises and documents that are being signed, the question that we are asking is, how do we enforce those documents? How do we hold, if Kenya Kwanza actually took over the government, how do you hold them accountable?
Number one, I think they are right. In their own right, they are Kenyans. The disability group, the women, the youth, the teachers. They are stakeholders and they have interest in the 2022 general elections.
And you have promised something?
And no, not promised. We have signed a commitment.
Right.
And it's the first time in the history of the Republic of Kenya that a political formation or a coalition like Kenya Kwanza has done it. And we are running away from the politics of deceit, where you go to a rally, how many people attend rally? And by then we met KEPSHA, we met Kenya Association of Manufacturers. So we're meeting people who matter, whether it is the social or the economic aspect. How do we enforce it? It is, in fact, the media is one of the strongest oversight watchdog. You will ask us, you promised the people of northern Kenya, before even we go to the leaders, that there will be one citizenry in the country, that you promised the people of Mombasa that the port will be returned. So those are the questions you will ask us in our next 100 days. We said we are going to implement universal health care. We said we are going to put 50 billion for the small-scale traders. All those you'll see us in our budget. In fact, the budget that we have just passed, in our first 90 days, when Parliament reconvenes, we will.
You see,
and even when we said we will implement the two-gender principle, two-third gender principle, in our first 100 days, you will see the legislative proposal and roadmap that we are going to give to the 13th Parliament.
how do we enforce this? In every contract, there's a termination clause in the event of a breach of contract. And it's clear. If this party breaches, this is how we go. If the other party breaches, this
Let
is
me
how we
tell
go.
you.
In this particular case,
Let me tell you.
if you don't do this thing in 6 months' time, okay, it's 100. In 100 days' time,
Let
the
me tell
port
you.
of Mombasa will be returned. In 100 days' time, every citizen of
Can I-
Garissa will have access
Yes.
to ID card. In 100 days' time, persons with disabilities will have this and the other. We have heard those kind of conversations
You
before.
know, what you are doing is what we call in Parliament anticipating debate.
Yes.
Yes, you're anticipating debate.
Yes.
The motion has not even been moved.
No, it has been
You,
signed.
we are not the old crop of leaders. You watch this space. We you're not
the same crop of leaders.
But I have,
We are-
I'm
no,
sorry,
no,
but I
no,
have
no,
to,
no,
I have to
no, no.
interject.
I am telling you, I am telling you, we will implement it.
There is a
When
new
we
group
don't
of-
implement it,
There is a new group of people made up of the same people, a new group, same people who were part of a previous group
By the
who
way,
said
we are not the same people.
Who made? Come on, the deputy president leads a group who said they were going to deliver certain things,
By
and
the way,
today have never been delivered.
By the way, we are a group of people.
What are we talking about
No,
here?
by the
If
way,
we're the believability factor plays a big role here. If you come to somebody
yes,
today
yes,
and tell them you're going to do something for them,
yes.
the same person who told them 5 short years ago that you would do something for them and you didn't. The factor plays a big role here. And this is a question we're asking across sides, by the way.
That is-
How will you guarantee that this time around, the things that you're telling Kenyans that you will do, like you're saying, you're holding the deputy president to account to say, look, that I want to make sure that in Garissa Township, you're talking about health and education, that you will do it.
Have you ever?
How do you know that it
Have
will
you
happen?
ever? Have you ever seen in the history of the Kenyan society or Kenya as a country, since independence, a presidential candidate put appending his signature on commitments at county level, at professional level? Have you ever seen it? It's the first time in the history of Kenya.
So the signature
So
guarantees-
do not be pessimist. Be optimist. And you have seen in our rallies we are saying we will bring an end to the politics of matapeli, deceit, and conmanship. We want Kenyans to see for the first time we are leaders who mean what they say.
We believe
and
you.
you have only 42 days. You have only 42 days. If you wait for the 42 days,
We will see.
and those documents, unlike our competitors,
What
let
we
me,
are
by the way,
what you are
unlike,
asking-
and
what
let me
you are
finish.
asking, Mheshimiwa.
Let me finish. Unlike our competitors, all our documents that are signed by our leaders,
A public document.
not our public documents, you can access them. Tell me today if you have the Azimio coalition agreement, which ideally had a timeline, was supposed to be deposited with the registrar of political parties, whether it is public. Our Kenya Kwanza coalition agreement is a public document. Our 47 county forums are public forums. Our charters are public forums. You saw at the Catholic University, the deputy president appending his signature. You should ask our competitors what they are promising. How do we hold them account? But I can tell you, for the first time in the history of the Republic of Kenya, a presidential candidate is appending and committing. So the next step is when we form government in August, the first 100 days, because we're even giving timelines. Do not even, before even other lobby groups, before other interest groups like me.
In 3 months' time, the port of Mombasa will be back to operation.
Yes, we are providing.
What does that mean? This means that you shall shut down all the operations in Nairobi ICD and Naivasha IC.
No. You can have a win-win situation.
The port is still operating.
You can have a win-win situation. The Kenyans who invested heavily in the truck business since independence. Where is the Naivasha terminal? Do you know where the railway is ending? Have you ever asked yourself? Do you know where the railway is ending? The railway is ending nowhere. It's ending in somebody's farm. I mean, and let me tell you, port cities everywhere around the world. Go to Singapore. Successive ports. Port cities is where majority of citizens in that country live. Go to Durban. Today, if you go to the port of Mombasa, to the city of Mombasa, in 5 years, during the period of the handshake, when the port terminal and operations were shifted to either container terminal, inland container terminal is supposed just to be part of the port. You don't shift the whole port.
So what will you do in 100 days? Will you shut down Nairobi and Naivasha inland?
No. I think now you need to look at our manifesto.
Okay.
We will institute administrative, legislative policies to make sure the port of Mombasa regain its past glory. The inland depot terminals work the way they are supposed to work. Remove conflict of interest. Remove cartels. There are few people who now run this inland container depot.
So are you saying that you are against privatization?
What do you mean by privatization?
What you are discussing is precisely that.
So you want to privatize? In other words, are you telling me the port of Mombasa must be privatized?
I am saying, why should not part of the port? I'm asking the question, why should, because you mentioned Singapore. If you look at the port of Singapore, if you go even to Hong Kong, very many of those berths in those very cities, those city-states, if I may call them, are private.
Now, the point
privatization has a role to play when it comes to the world of shipping and to the other activities that are associated with it.
In fact, what goes on in the port of Mombasa, the players are the private sector, whether they're the shipping lines, whether they're the big clearing agents. So private sector is a key player in the operation of the port of Mombasa. But it's like in 2015, Dubai Port wanted to take over the port of Mombasa. And Parliament in its report rejected it. They have taken a number of ports in the Horn of Africa. If you go to Djibouti, they have taken that port. But there are millions of Kenyans who earn either direct or indirect their daily livelihood through the port of Mombasa. But when you say a container lands in the morning, it's put on SGR, it goes to ICD, the same container can be cleared in Mombasa. That customer, that client, that consignee can say my container now, after clearance and everything is done, can be transported by the rail. Another client can say my container will go by road. But when you say mandatory, that everything that goes on in the port of Mombasa will either go to the CFS, which are owned by politically correct people. When you give Maersk Sealand 2 terminals, just because certain powerful people have been given shares within the Maersk as a company, then the ordinary citizen, and I'm telling you, go to Mombasa and see the way people are suffering. So we're saying that, and it's part of an economic revival, to revive the economy of Mombasa,
So
we must reconsider,
administrative and legislative
we must
policy.
reconsider both SGR for it to operate optimally, the port operation to continue and benefit the people of Mombasa, and it must be a win-win
for everybody.
So what we
Question
have in that question, if you ask me, in the Port of Mombasa and all this SGR thing, it is state capture of the economy by a few individuals.
The question that we are asking, Mheshimiwa,
Yes.
is once you've signed this and the leadership of, say, Mombasa County have appended their signature as well, the UDA leadership or Kenya Kwanza leadership of Mombasa County, because it's not all, have appended their signature to this particular document, how do the people of Mombasa hold you accountable if in 100 days you don't do this?
Eric, can I append a question to what you're asking?
Yes.
In the charter that you say you have, do you have an addendum which states that in the 100 days, if you do not fulfill what you have said, you will resign?
No, now we are dealing. Number one, I told you the first time a charter has been written, and number two, there are many oversight organizations, including the media. I mean, a democratically elected government must ideally and morally and ethically fulfill what it promises the people of Kenya.
And if it doesn't?
No. Let me finish. You don't go to the conclusion that if it doesn't. And I don't know why you're using only the word it doesn't. You should also use the word if it does, because it's going to do.
It's fair
it is two words. It is two words. So we are telling you today, without any fear of contradiction, even the people in the streets of Mombasa will hold us to account. And finally, let me even tell you, a government will come back even after 5 years to seek the votes and the mandate of the people, despite whatever will go in. Even the moral respect, the moral ethical respect, it will miss. But I can tell you from where I sit, they are doable.
And they can be
And
done.
for the first time, we don't want to put anything in the charter that will not be implementable. Like for example, but let me give you an example of the Mombasa port. If you go to the Mombasa port, what have they shifted? It's operation. Even the port of the contention is not whether the Mombasa port is working. Mombasa port is working, but the basic operational elements that gave livelihood to thousands of Mombasa residents and Kenyans have been given to one senior corporate called SGR. SGR can still survive, or has been given to few individuals who wants to run the what you call the CFS. The CFS. So we want the port of Ombaso to go back to where it used to be before.
The question,
where the clearing agent will get his daily bread, where the sweeper will get his daily bread, where the cleaner
Honorable Duale, you're the politician, we are not.
Yes.
And you're playing this dodge game very, very well. You know why we are asking this and why we are insisting on if it doesn't. It's because you sat in that room in KICC 4 years ago.
Yes.
In 2017.
Absolutely.
When you and your fellow Jubilee leaders were promising us many things.
And which we delivered, apart from 1 or 2.
Yeah, those 1 or 2, why didn't you deliver?
Which government delivers 100%? Even in the US.
So in this charter,
let me ask you.
Okay, so
what is your past mark?
Let me absolutely. And let me tell you, you learn from history, and that is why when you see our manifesto, we will only, for the first time, we will only promise the people of Kenya what is deliverable, what is achievable. Let me give you a good example. What we will sign with the people of Northern Kenya on citizenship. It's just a matter of removing this bureaucratic vetting process. It's a very simple human resource exercise. In terms of extrajudicial killing, it's just a matter of telling the state agents who are responsible in the security sector not to kill innocent Kenyans and take them through the due process of court as provided in the Bill of Rights. That's achievable.
In terms of livestock?
In terms of livestock, deal with the issue of drought. Make sure government allocate resources. Bring back the livestock insurance policy. Create feedlots. I mean, me talking to you, I run a feedlot in Garissa. It's possible. So the feedlots can absorb all the animals at the advent of drought. It's achievable with very little money. help the small-scale traders. What is 50 billion? 50 billion, we give Kenya Airways alone 50 billion, one big company. What is 50 billion? 50 billion is like the 100 is what we give to CDF for members of parliament to use for the construction of schools and bursaries. Okay? Talk about universal healthcare. It is achievable. Already, the infrastructure is there. You know, when the Deputy President says, by December, every Kenyan will have a universal healthcare insurance, NHIF card. People think it's crazy. Already, we have done all the legislative work.
Yeah.
Already, it's just a matter of saying, and the people who are fighting that process are the private insurers. All that we are saying is, me and you can pay more, I can pay more, Mamamboga will pay less. The few will remain, government can create a budget for, give a universal health care. So what we are promising Kenya for the first time, and we have learned from our experience, is that we must provide something which is
Doable.
doable. The debt, for example.
Should you
people
not
asking
do
us,
it?
let me finish with this. People asking us, how will you guys fix the debt issue? We've given that report many times in Parliament. Restructure the debt portfolio. Bring back all these expensive loans from China. Give to the multilaterals and the bilaterals.
Mheshimiwa, we've acquired these debts when you were as Jubilee were one entity. That's when we started getting these debts. The Deputy President,
debts?
the debts you speak of.
The numbers.
All the things
All
that
them
you
I
speak of took place before Jubilee split.
No.
That's where they all started.
Get the numbers. The first time of Jubilee administration, you can check it to the Treasury. We borrowed not more than 4 trillion.
Were they commercial or were they long-term debts?
They were mixed, but
Okay.
the majority
Were
were
commercial.
commercial. Secondly, but
You could have
but
restructured.
let me finish the story. Because we are at 11 trillion today. In fact, we are 13. They're just cheating, telling Kenyans 10 trillion because there are commitments they have made. There are loans which are committed, but they are paid for. So during the handshake, the second time of Jubilee, this administration borrowed 7 trillion.
Okay.
So
Let me say goodbye to the KTN home audience, all right? So we continue the conversations on Spice FM. This is the Situation Room. We are live on Spice FM and Spice FM KE on YouTube and Facebook. We are just taking a break on KTN Home.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
So, that's why I'm saying the numbers. President Kibaki left at 1.8 trillion. We took it to 4 trillion. But during the handshake, they borrowed 7 trillion, which they are not adding loans committed, which we are paying for. They have not added the government agents and parastatals, the loans they have borrowed.
You're a ranking member of this assembly that has just been sitting there superintending this borrowing, passing budgets. You haven't voted no to the budget.
No. What are you talking about? Get a copy of all the budgets. In fact, let me speak for the legislature. When Kimani Chungwa was
Chair of the
chair of budget, you get the report. We have been telling, borrowing.
The budget committee
borrowing
has
was
been
not an
saying
issue.
something, but the
Borrowing
budget
was not an
committee has
issue.
been recommending
Mending.
approval
No.
of the
Let me
budget
tell you.
finance.
No. Recommendation and everything was done through the budget policy. The implementation is part of the executive. And we have been telling them, you can borrow. Every country borrows, but borrow from the multilateral and bilateral lenders, where you get more grace period and you get less interest of 2%, 1%, 3%.
Mheshimiwa, we've got to go to the news.
But they went to China, and I think that is one of the things that the economies that will be in Kenya Kwanza will do, is to restructure the debt
debts.
portfolio and make sure we expand our tax base.
What is delivered is delivered. That you can say, see, we delivered something. Mheshimiwa, is that not it?
No, one thing I want to tell you.
Before we get into this hard conversation, I'm calling it hard. There's something Mheshimiwa mentioned.
Yes.
I liked the sound of it.
Okay.
It is what he does in Garissa town. If I understood you said you have a program for feeding people. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, that is something that I would hope, not just UDA, as me and everybody else who is in the political field, would talk about. Because, yes, there are the promises, and that's what we're going to discuss after I ask
Yes.
this. But then there's what you're doing now, because these problems are not in the future. They are present, they are current.
Yes.
Now, you have a plan. I even suggested that perhaps political parties should suspend their campaigns for 3 days and say, the monies we would have spent in our rallies for 3 days, we are putting towards this.
Drought.
And we are precisely.
Yes.
And a feeding program for this. You are doing it in Garissa Township. Why is it that UDA doesn't have a program that they've put in place that we can see? And I'm not, it's a rhetorical question. I'm asking the same of Azimio. I'm asking the same of anybody else who says they want to help Kenyans, because the immediate problem, and which is growing, are people who cannot even get food to eat on a daily basis.
I think the first person who should have done that is the government in power that the people have elected. I mean, there's a government, there's a budget, there's taxpayers' resources. So I think before even Azimio comes in, before Kenya Kwanza comes in, the government has a moral and ethical duty to feed its people, like many other governments. But of course, Kenya Kwanza, in our own ways, we support our individual members of parliament who come from the most affected areas. That's a drop in the ocean. I mean, 2-3 trucks. But I think government has a moral duty, and this government, if you ask me, has no interest for the people of Kenya. Not only this drought, in all the subsequent drought. It's very, very sad. I mean, buying of livestock. In fact, if you ask me, livestock offtake, all these programs have been used for corruption purposes. You see, they release money just maybe 2 weeks to the advent of rains. So it's about the timely. When do you buy feed? When do you feed people? When do you do the offtake program? Government should have built the feedlots and all this. But I agree with you morally. The political class, the two main competitors, should have said, we are stopping our campaign for 2 days, or this is what our 2 days campaign will cost, and they flag off trucks of food at Uhuru Park or Nyayo Stadium. But let me come back to that very important question you asked about the commitment.
Yes.
How do we held accountable? Kenya Kwanza. By the way, by our name itself, it's Kenya Kwanza. So ours is Kenya. I mean, it's not about us. But you know, the Constitution has defined political parties and the functions of political parties. The Political Parties Act has also defined one of the grounds that a president or a government can be impeached, even a minister, if he doesn't implement what he promised in his budgetary allocations. Thirdly, and more importantly, I mean, there are many people, including the media, who will hold governments and leaders to account. And if either through the judicial system, through the legislature, which are independent, a petition can be brought to parliament. And I told you, petitions and impeachments in parliament become more solid constitutionally if you have something solid, like a signature. Like Honorable Duale has signed this, and it's not fake. So I don't think the deputy president signing charters, which has never happened in the history of Kenya, I don't think he's doing it just for PR.
Can you take it to court?
And of course.
And what would you be seeking in court?
The court can compel. Courts can compel. You know, the problem we have is our courts are very independent. They're very powerful.
That's the problem.
The problem is the problem is if you have a leader and a government that does not respect the rule of law, like this current government, but we don't expect those of us, you know, and William Ruto is not alone. We are leaders around him. So if it is going to be a leader that is going to respect the rule of law, if I go to court and take the petition with the signature on extrajudicial killing, a court can compel not only the president, the state agencies which are compliant, and they have done it even before. That you have seen the case of the cleric from Moyale, who, when he was released because there was no evidence in committee, he said, "I'm not leaving, because if I leave at the door of the committee, I'll be killed." So those kind of things, a commitment. Ask me, and let me ask you a general question: are you better off when a leader just speaks on a microphone and leaves you a county, than when you have a document that he signed, that tomorrow or if him or his agents come back to you, you can say, "No, wait a minute, you told us this, and you never did it, so we have no business with you."
The indemnification that you speak of makes sense. You have parliament, it's a legal document, it can be taken to court. But if I look at institutions that deal with such matters, promises, and how it is they indemnify themselves and what is they say. For instance, the insurance industry. You take a car insurance. They tell you, in the event that this happens, whether it's third party, whether it's comprehensive, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. At the end of the day, the promise is that they will pay you in the event of an accident. That's why when I asked you earlier on, in the event, because it is human, in the event that something doesn't happen.
No, but with a lot of respect to you, don't use the insurance analogy.
Why?
No. The insurance analogy is different. I mean, I can drive for 3 years and I have not had an accident, and they will still scoop my money. This is about there is the existence of a problem, and it needs a solution. So this person is committing that this problem exists and he must resolve it. How does he resolve it? I'm going to do it not just by rhetoric, by utterances, but by committing himself. And as you earlier said, it's companies, in fact, the political parties act is more pronounced both in law and in the constitution. And let me give you an example. I am a member of parliament.
Yes.
Most of these commitments are budgetary related. Agreed? You can push it through parliament and make sure the budgets are allocated. And if that budget, because the budget is a public participative process,
Yes.
if even the president or the minister rejects that budget on the basis of that item, which they have promised, then you can go to court and that budget can be annulled. That section can be annulled, even if the House agrees with it. So here, I can tell you, for the first time, we have leaders in public, for the first time in the history of Kenya, who can say, "Held me to account. I am ready to append my signature. So let's wait. Give us the first 100 days. If you don't deliver, I'll be back here." Ask our competitors. But ours, let me tell you, Article 35 of the Constitution, allow me, allows even any citizen, even Mamamboga, to go and ask for the Azimio coalition document.
Yes.
Up to today, why is it that it is with the registrar? And the registrar, has become a victim of the state machinery. The registrar should make it public. But the problem is she doesn't have the document. The document is in State House. The document is with President Kenyatta. President Kenyatta wants to use it he wants to amend it every morning. His document is working in progress. So it had a deadline of 25th, I think, it was a deadline of 9th of
March.
9th of, I think, April.
April.
You guys have shown our document is in public. Where is Azimio? And where is Azimio? Where is the signatures?
Okay.
So I think if you had to score us, I think
You've never owned that document that's been leaking in public. You know that, eh?
What do you mean?
The one that has been circulating, it was not officially circulated by Kenya Kwanza.
Kenya Kwanza, our document was given to the media. I asked when I saw it. It was copy what I had. And
so 70% ANC for Kenya is
yes,
part of it.
Yes.
If they don't deliver 70%, Nothing for them.
No. We will negotiate.
So there's an opportunity to negotiate.
Yes, it is a clause there.
Okay. As we concluded, Mheshimiwa, we now can see the vote distribution, right? Across the country.
Yes.
The counties that have high votes, the counties that don't have high votes, the counties that are perceived to be UDA and Kenya Kwanza strongholds, and those that are not. From where you sit, where are your numbers coming from?
Our numbers are coming from our first traditional stronghold of 2017.
Which is?
5.7 million Mount Kenya Central and the diaspora, coming from the Rift Valley, coming from majority of the pastoralist areas in terms of the presidential votes. In terms of the other seats, there might be clan dynamics. Even us as UDA, we're only targeting 11 parliamentary seats out of the 18 parliamentary seats.
In pastoralist counties?
In the 3 northeastern counties. Of the 18, we are zeroing on 11, where we have the front runners. Then go to, our numbers have gone up. We have now gone and eaten into our opponent's stronghold. Western, Coast. If we just do, we're doing now 50% in some parts of Western. In Bungoma and Trans Nzoia, we're doing over 60%. Those are our opponent's stronghold. Coast, even if we do 50%, we are home and dry. If you calculate the numbers as of the final register, anybody will tell you we are going to beat our competitors by a margin of 2 million. They will not go to Uhuru Park, they will not go to the Supreme Court.
A margin of 2 million votes gives you how many votes?
About 11, 12 million. Yeah.
So about 12 million votes to Kenya Kwanza.
Kenya Kwanza about, let's say if the turnout will be 80%.
And that's about 51%.
It's about 51%
Yes.
of the voting population.
Yes, about 50. And we are targeting the youth. The youth about 8 million. They have gone down by about 5%. I don't know why. From 2017. Now they're about 8 million of the 22 million.
But do you still have the same stronghold that you had a couple of months ago, let's say 4 or 5 months ago in Mount Kenya?
Oh, Mount Kenya is locked, my friend. Don't listen to the opinion polls that are done by our competitor strategists. I'll give you an example of Angela. Angela was not here, my friend. She's a part of the strategists of our competitor.
But
Ipsos. Don't look at the opinion polls of the deep state. You should get the opinion polls of the intelligence, which we have access to.
So what does the intelligence opinion poll say?
No. I don't want to share like Karanja Kibicho.
Who told us that
you are
losing?
I am not a custodian, so I'm not a recipient. So I will not tell you. But
the recipient has told us that you are losing.
No. You know, a recipient who's telling you? Karanja Kibicho is not a recipient of intelligence.
He's a consumer of the intelligence information that comes directly to him.
He's not.
Oh, okay.
The people who are the recipient and
Consumers.
and consumers are very limited. Are members of the National Security Council, which the Deputy President is one of them.
And the National Security Advisory Committee?
No. I think the Director General. I don't want to go into it, but Director General. According to if you look at the Act of National Intelligence Service, it will tell you who are the recipient, and they are not made public. They are not made public in radio shows. So I am aware. So and that is why he had to say it, because he was in denial. But I can tell you from the 22 point. It has never happened in the world. It has never happened in the world. And that's how low our country has gone, where a PS in charge of interior can publicly state intelligence reports. And that is why I am sure General Kameru must be shocked. It has never happened even during Moi's time. Because intelligence reports can also be done on the president himself. Intelligence do intelligence reports on the president himself, on the deputy president himself. I mean, their mandate is not that they should not touch the president. Today they can do an intelligence on the president, on the deputy president, on any public state officer. So, or even on the ones who are talking about it. So all over the world, I think the recipients of intelligence. But I can tell you, we also do our own opinion polls. It might not be 100% correct, but I can tell you, the problem is Kenyan Constitution gives a president a 2-term limit, which President Kenyatta has just finished. Ask yourself the 1 million question. Why should President Kenyatta become the chairman of Azimio? And let us see the Azimio document. What is his role? So are we electing a president who will be independent, the CEO elected by millions, 45 millions, will be the president for 45 millions? So what is the role of President Kenyatta as the chair? So you have a president who is a commander-in-chief of the defense forces, and you have a person who has retired, who's earning the retirement package, and he now has a very powerful, like the Communist Party.
Is it illegal?
It's illegal. It's not in the Constitution.
So if it isn't...
A former president cannot be a chairman of a party.
A former president, even, let me tell you, the president, deputy president, speakers, chief justice and deputy chief justice, and other state officers retirement act bars any individual who access and gets the retirement benefits from participating in politics. You remember the story of Kalonzo and Raila?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the one who passed that act.
And then you get...
So, and ask me, it is very clear, a president has 2 terms. He finishes, he goes home.
So if he doesn't access his benefits, he can...
So, in fact, the next government will be remotely run by the chair of Azimio. It will be the most complex and, I think, unstable government in the unlikely event they win.
Oh,
And secondly...
you have to add that.
You have to add that because actually you had already conceded that
was
they
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. In the unlikely event they win, you tell me. I mean, you are Kenyans. Today, if you retire from this company, you can be hired as a consultant.
Yes.
Okay, you can be hired as a consultant.
Yes.
But you cannot come and
I will not be pensionable.
and you cannot come and be part of the management. Why does President Uhuru Kenyatta wants to be part of the management of the affairs of the state when he has chewed his 10 years as a president and finished?
Good question.
Unless he wants to, and the reason why he's doing that, I think, is the President Kenyatta, in my opinion, has many questions to answer. From state capture to the capture of the economy, to violation of the rule of law, to extrajudicial killing to the people of the north.
So
if you ask me, I'm not speaking now. Now I'm speaking as a person, as a politician.
Duale.
Not even Kenya Kwanza. I think Kenyans should ask themselves 1 million question. President Kibaki did his 10 years, he left. Moi wanted to impose a candidate on us. He couldn't, he left. Why is President Kenyatta so energetic to be part and parcel of the succession and the person Kenyans wants to elect?
Would you be saying the same thing if he was supporting your candidate?
No. Even if he was supporting William Ruto,
You
I
would
would
have
still
said,
say
please do not support him.
no. I mean, in the US it happens. Barack Obama supported Henry Clinton to a certain extent from the party position. From a party position. But they never formed something called Azimio.
A coalition and a summit.
Yes, the president could have supported.
In the event,
The president could have supported Honorable Raila Odinga even within ODM.
In the event,
And then form a coalition. And then tell him that my party, whose leader will be this person, will be part of your government. And the person to decide will be Honorable Raila Odinga.
In the event William Ruto wins,
No, he will win, inshallah.
Okay.
are you likely to go out and start asking those questions that you've raised now about Uhuru Kenyatta and his presidency?
Not that I'll wait for Uhuru, for whether he wins or not. I'll be a member of, inshallah, when I become a member of Garissa and a ranking member, I will ask those questions. I'm asking them now. I will ask them until I get answers.
Okay.
It doesn't depend who. You know, I was reading last night. The office of the leader of majority gave me certain very unique character of culture of reading. So last night I was reading about the GDP and the economy of Kenya, and you know, you'll be shocked. There are 3 companies and 2 individuals in Kenya who control 38% of our GDP. 5. One individual controls 14% of the GDP. That's a very, very sad situation. So succession even in UK, in the Labour Party, and let me pick on the US because ours is a presidential system. You go, the National Delegates Conference of your party will elect. So President Kenyatta, number 1, has no candidate in his party, Jubilee. So who is the candidate? He can support anybody, but he should support him in his party.
Is there a prescription that he
but
must?
the formation of Azimio is not even. You remember that chaotic parliamentary thing? Azimio was formed, an amendment was done, House was bribed, a lot of force was used to amend the Political Parties Act to create Azimio so that the President Kenyatta becomes the chair. BBI, you know the whole story of BBI, was part of extension of power of today. BBI could have passed. President Kenyatta could have been the next prime minister.
Let's end it there. Mheshimiwa Duale,
I think it's a
thank you.
good ending.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for coming today. Come again soon, of course, as we head in this, how many, 40 how many days? 42 days.
Yes.
Yes, to the election.
Should move very fast.
They should move faster.
Yeah.
Come
We are
again soon.
tired.
Let's have this conversation.